Hello friends, welcome to this video session on Bama's Karukku, explanation of the Chapter 5, Part-3. In this part of the chapter, we are going to continue the discussion made in the last two videos on the Chapter 5 of Karukku written by Bama. This discussion is part of the discussion of the paper, the Compulsory Foundation Course in English, the 4th Semester English Language paper for BCA and BSc at Mangalore University. Welcome to today's session. So in the last two sessions preceded this video, we made a discussion of how people in Bama's village, particularly the people of her community, had their different aspects of recreation. Bama made a wonderful attempt there to project us the way Dalits had their inborn talents. The people in her community had inborn talent in certain artistic performances, and she also tried to add something to construct Dalit identity through literature using several instances where the unique way of their life is represented. Here again we find Bama continues that through the description of the celebration of festivals among them. She opens with this part with the description of celebration of Christmas, New Year, Easter and the Chinnamalai festival with enthusiasm. She says in general people during these festivals celebrate with happiness and they go to the cinema, they have of course various festivities, and naturally one of the important things that they do is to visit to the church. So at church they perform certain prayers and all that. Mama takes up those things to show us how the people in her community, particularly the Dalit Christians lived in that village, were also active part of religious practices in that village. So the whole village was lively and bustling during these festival seasons. Women prepared variety of dishes, calling out to each other in great excitement. So that means you can see the festive fervor spreads here and there everywhere in the village during that time. So the conversation about slaughtering of a cow for the new year is brought in here because to prepare something they had that plan. So hearing that, one character named Anthony Amma rushes off home to reserve some meat. So wherever Bama makes takes up some individual instances, she tries to make the critique of that social situation. That is exuberant, that's exhibited here also. I think I'm going to read what Michael Amma says at the time. She mentions, so many people of other caste eat beef secretly these days. It's getting more and more difficult for us to get any meat. All of them eat their fill, but see, it's only we people who are called locusts. So here she tries to make two things. One is a critique of many people doing a pretense that they do not eat it. The other side is that it's only they claim or they call these people, the people belong to her community, as locusts for doing all those things. That's a thing we observe where Bama takes an incident where to criticize the prevailing attitude of people then. So then we see an announcement was heard about a cinema show the following on the following night. In the celebration of New Year. Yeah, that means you can see during New Year or even Christmas there were cinema shows, and that was another source of entertainment, in fact, or recreation. All get excited and waited impatiently, right? They were waiting for that cinema show, get excited. What do? The whole street was astir next morning. You can see when the cinema show was announced, the whole street becomes, it was astir. You can see the thing here. The whole street was astir. We say stirred, right? It's a verb. Astir is an adverb form of it. It was bustling with activity, bustling with joy. So Bama was surprised to see the vendors selling expensive fruits there. On that day again, during the festival, so not just because of cinema, but because of the celebration of festival, everybody, were busy in activity. And one of the things that Bama noticed was vendors selling expensive fruits there. How come expensive fruits to the streets of Bama's community where they have difficulty to earn their living? Let's see how. So because people bought the fruits, right? Because they had to give some fruits as a gift to offer the priest and mother superior. Yeah, of course, this was the practice among them. But Bama takes a privilege here again to criticize that we will see ahead. The custom for the entire congregation to go and offer these gifts to family by family and some groups by groups to the church, particularly to the priests, and they carry them to the priest and mother superior. They carry them the gifts of fruit or biscuits, sometimes garland priest and mother superior, and pay their respect. These are the way they initially celebrated of course, the beginning of the festival was like this. Bama says here, this point I think I told you, so she takes such a chance to criticize this again and say, it exhibits, lays bare the reality here. You see, Bama says, though their people had never tasted the fruits themselves, they bought the fruits by all efforts. You can see the way she lays bare the reality. They hadn't tasted, they hadn't eaten that fruit in their lifetime, but they bought that in order to give it as gift to the church authorities. That was the way Bama takes up even a smallest example, instance to show us the way people on the one hand dedicated to the practices at the church, second on the other hand how they were keen at that at the cost of their own comfort. Anyhow, made their offerings there at the church. They knelt, K-N-E-L-T, knelt, kneel is the word, right? Knelt, sitting on the knee joints is knelt before them in all humility. ವಿನಯತೆಯಿಂದ ವಿಧೇಯತೆಯಿಂದ ಅವರೆದುರು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು and received the sign of the cross on their forehead. Sign of the cross on their forehead. See the way religious practice in that village, that is, here again we get exposure to that religious practice in the premises of church during the occasion of the Christmas or New Year. And she also continues here, a long queue on the New Year in front of the confession box. The Pusai began at 8 in the morning, concluded at 10:30. So there was a Pusai that is singing or telling the story of I think some priest named saint named Pusai. So they recite that story belongs to him. That is the practice, a ritual that they used to do. And there was confession box, right? The confession that they used to make once in a year, that was also there. A queue was there. I think a long queue on the New Year in front of the confession box, also a kind of irony at human condition, because it means a long queue, a long list had committed some sins, right? They all have something to confess. Of course, committing mistakes or sins are not committing mistakes are not exceptional. To err is human, as Shakespeare says, but confession is important, right? Confessing before God is the best confession one can make, I think, because there it is possible to disclose whatever is there in us before whom we trust, that is God, in the context, I think. Then anyhow, we go ahead. The practices of Pusai at the church, it was the Pusai was one man was sang loudly while others accompanying, beating out the rhythm, right? You can see the way others also engaged in that, one man singing the Pusai. In the meantime, you see a sudden voice from the women. One woman shouted loudly that there was none to sing. She takes one particular example. There she shouted there were none to sing hymns, right? People were not singing hymns, but there are 10 fellows to beat out the rhythm. All laughed. Some people told them to be quiet. So she makes a critique of again this attitude of the woman. Of course, that's the reality there. They were not familiar with singing, but they were beating the rhythm. That was the way she criticizes That woman criticizes that practice, and priest had sprinkled holy water in the center of the church. They had to sprinkle some holy water. They did it in the in the center of the church. An incident of a small urchin, a Tamil word that she takes here, a poor child who walked naked in the middle, pissing around. So that was the incident. So a little children, they do all these things. A little boy, a child who did this in the spot where the sprinkling had already been done, a nun gave him 4 sharp blows on his back. Look at the way, because it is a religious premises, right? Premises of the church. The boy had made a sin there, and he was punished, with 4 blows, sharp blows. So I think you can see Bama again mentions this with a purpose, that the boy screamed in pain, and his mother yelled not to beat him. On the New Year day, picked him up and walked out. See, so he was beaten on the New Year day, on the very first day. Second thing, as a child, a little child was beaten like anything, without paying attention to that age, that without any humanity in that matter. She questions here, or puts before us to think. It's a thought-provoking thing, because when you do certain things, when somewhere you say love all, serve all and all that, and the other hand you do like this, that's how she criticizes, by placing things before us. Then after the pusa, a huge crowd gathered at the priest's place. Just families, not just families, it was not just families, many groups connected with the church were also there to do their offerings. Everybody did it. Similarly, Bama's family too made their offerings to them. What happens after offering? You can see here, the priest made the sign of the cross on every forehead upon those who knelt or fell down in prostration before him. Yeah, those who fell down in prostration, lying in forehead, facing the ground. And also, it was the symbol, right? Using the cross, he blessed them all. Here again another incident of complaint pops up. What is that? A woman complained about the miserliness of the priest, who just puts the cross on their head and tell them to go away. Tell them to go away, right? You see, he puts the cross and tell them to go away. Nothing was given to them. He did not give anything to them. Unlike him, earlier priest gave them sweets. Earlier priest used to give them some sweets, or holy pictures at least. They would carry that holy pictures and keep at home, right? So a new calendar was given, right? Even a new calendar was given when they went with the offerings. This priest did not give anything. That is a complaint of them. So that's what the miserliness. So this miserliness of the priest, on the other hand, exposes their attitude toward these Dalit Christians, or the Christians of her community, or people from that particular part, who, though they offered and though they want to be in the mainstream, though they wish to be in the main ritualistic part of the church, they were not given that provision. That is probably the complaint from that woman. Bama even says the same in her preface, that we can see. So everyone agreed with her and came out complaining the same. The tone of that woman is acceptable to them all. That means all the people here, all those devotees went to that place, hadn't got that happiness or that offering, satisfaction of being a part of the ritual. So we have one more example, Antoniemma, a particular example, individual instance. I've been telling you a combination of a specific example and generalized ideas run through the text here. So here again a specific example. Antoniemma asked the priest for a calendar. He demanded for money. She demanded for the priest demanded for money. The priest demanded for money to give her the calendar. He demanded money. Says he only sell it. Complains how the time changed. Antoniemma complains how the time changed, because earlier priest used to give them without accepting any money. That's the thing then. So finally, you see, then the leader of Our Lady Sabhai, so there was a lady Sabha, right, in Kannada, Sabhai, scolded everyone not to stand showing teeth, right, showing teeth, smiling, that means, but to go to the convent to give offerings to Mother Superior. You can see scolding not to show, not showing teeth is a translation of some socialite there, right? Blaming or scolding, chiding them, right? Then they went to offer things to Mother Superior. As someone demanded a holy picture there, another instance, the Mother Superior questioned if they had given her money, to give them holy picture. Had they given money? So if they had given money, that was a question from Mother Superior, and she told them to go home quickly without leaning on the walls or touching anything. They were not even allowed to lean on the wall and touch anything there. That was the way Mother Superior treated them. By giving the examples of attitudes of the priest and Mother Superior, Bama puts a question on the attitude and treatment of them in that particular premises. So then finally she says, then she summoned the leader and handed over small bags for the few of them, which created a rumpus there. Mother Superior handed over a small bag. It carried some calendar or something like that, and everybody opened it, and there was a rumpus, right? A lot of people gathered there to collect their things there. So the words of despair over not getting the share echoed. This is in page number 67. Bama says these words of despair or not getting the share echoed. I think it has larger significance. It is a voice of the Dalit Christians like Bama, who were not happy at all even after accepting that religion, it seems. That's what she's trying to say here, that they were separated, they were treated differently. In 2-3 occasions she mentions that in the novel. Anyhow, with the conclusion, we can say it has two things, I think. On the one hand, Bama tries to give us the way, matter of fact, aspect of her community's participation in the religious practices at the church, and she shows us how they had their own unique rituals and religious practice. On the other hand, she also gives us the attitude of the church people towards them, the priest or maybe the Mother Superior and others. So anyhow, finally, the major important part here is how their community celebrated festivals with fervor despite the difficulties and struggles they had in their life. So these are the two different aspects that we come to know from this part of the chapter. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video with the discussion of the remaining part of the chapter. Thank you.